Hey everybody, I'm Mike, and I'm back with another episode of Mike's Collection. So today what I want to do is what I talked about in my very first short little episode. I just want to talk a little bit about the New York Toy Fair that happened this past weekend. So that is the toy show that happens every February, where all the big toy manufacturers come together to show retailers all their product that's coming out for the coming year. So yeah, for toy collectors, it's always a very exciting time. And there's plenty of news sites that have done big features, all the new toys coming out. I'm not going to cover all the different stuff. If you're interested in that, there's plenty of other videos and sites you can go to. I just want to talk a little bit about the stuff that I saw that I was excited to get, and which will pretty much be guaranteed to be added to my collection in the coming year. So first off, I'll mention there was a lot of things that I was a little disappointed by. A lot of things I collect, there wasn't a whole lot to show. For example, G.I. Joe. That's probably my number one toy love. And we kind of knew that we weren't going to get anything. Hasbro had pretty much said they weren't interested in doing any more G.I. Joe figures until the next live action movie comes out, which is at least probably a good year and a half away. But still, some people were hoping maybe they'd surprise us with some maybe new 6-inch figures or something. But there was nothing on the G.I. Joe front. Also for Star Wars, the Black Series, there was very little revealed as far as Star Wars figures. But a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that a new Star Wars movie comes out this year. And a lot of the figures are probably being kept secret as they don't want to spoil anything for the movie. So that wasn't exactly a surprise either. DC Comics, there wasn't a whole lot to get excited about. Marvel, they had a pretty good showing, so I've got a few Marvel figures I want to talk about. Masters of the Universe, they had a couple of pretty cool reveals, but not a lot of reveals, so there wasn't a whole lot to talk about there. Transformers as well, they only had a handful of things. And some of the smaller manufacturers, such as Boss Fight Studio and Marauder Task Force, there was nothing there from Marauder. I don't believe they were at the show. Boss Fight revealed some things, but nothing that I'm really interested in. So, yeah, there was some cool stuff, but not a ton of stuff, which is, it's good for my wallet. So, regardless, I still have a lot of stuff to show you, a lot of stuff I want to talk about. So, from DC, the only figures that I thought were kind of cool were the luchador themed figures that I talked about very briefly on a previous video. So there were 6 of these figures in the line. The only 2 I would probably get would be Batman and Superman. Both of them look pretty neat, something different, because I already have plenty of Batman and Superman figures. So yeah, it's just nice to get something different. Now, I'm also a big Godzilla fan. I have lots of variations of Godzilla already. But I am excited for the new movie that's coming out, and hoping that this toy line is a little bigger for this movie, and that it leads to maybe figures from some of the other classic Godzilla monsters, even if they don't appear in the film. So there's a couple of different companies with the license to Godzilla, so there's probably some more collector-oriented figures, as well as some figures geared more towards kids, and I'll probably buy a bit of both. So, yeah, looking forward to new versions of Godzilla and King Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra, as those are all the monsters that are supposed to be featured in Godzilla King of the Monsters. For Ninja Turtles, one of the cool things that we've learned is that the really nice animated turtles that came out last year as a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, it was a big pack of 8 figures with the 4 turtles, 2 foot soldiers, Krang and Shredder. They're coming out now in a general release is 2 packs. So you'll get one of the different turtles in all the packs, as well as a foot soldier, Shredder, and Krang. And then to expand on that line, we're also getting Bebop and Rocksteady. Now, I don't know if they'll come together, or maybe they'll come packaged with another foot soldier or something, but Bebop is my favorite Ninja Turtles character, so I'm pretty excited to get him in this line because he looks great. Now, Funko revealed all kinds of new pops. Again, I talked about these briefly in one of my other videos, but I figured I might as well do a quick recap again here. So the ones I'm most excited about are Jaws with the 3 main characters, as well as the shark, and they all look great, and I'll definitely be getting all 4 of those. The other line that showed a lot of promise is The Office. So there's a bunch of characters in The Office, and I'm hoping that they expand and make the rest of them, because they all look pretty great too. So Super 7, that's the company that licenses the Masters of the Universe line from Mattel. And as I mentioned, they put out some cool stuff, but not a ton of stuff. So as far as the Masters of the Universe classics, they put out the long-awaited figures based on the live-action movie starring Dolph Lundgren. People have wanted those figures for years, and they're finally coming. So we've got a Dolph Lundgren He-Man, and 2 versions of Skeletor, the standard Skeletor and the God Skeletor in his gold armor, and they look fantastic. So I'm pretty excited about those. Now, also in the Classics line, they're not exactly He-Man figures, but they're putting out a Voltron and a Toxic Avenger, which I probably won't get, but I'll definitely be getting Conan the Barbarian. So He-Man is kind of inspired by Conan anyway, and so it's pretty neat to finally be able to add Conan to the He-Man shelf. Now, this isn't my ideal version of Conan. I prefer a helmetless version, but maybe we'll get to that down the road. For Transformers, there was a couple new figures in the Siege line, such as Omega Supreme, Mirage, and they're cool, and I'll probably get some of them. I probably won't know until I see some of them in hand, because I have those characters. There's Omega Supreme behind me already. I don't have a whole lot of room to keep replacing these guys. I'm pretty happy with that version, but if I see it in store and he looks awesome, I might start replacing some of these. But there really wasn't a whole lot to get excited about Transformers-wise. Probably the neatest one that they did show was a crossover character between the Ghostbusters and the Transformers, where the Ecto-1, the famous Ghostbusters car, transforms into a robot, which is pretty cool. I'm glad they didn't try and make the robot look like Peter Venkman or something stupid. A couple years ago, Transformers did a crossover with Star Wars, which was kind of neat to get these Star Wars vehicles that turned into robots, but it was kind of cheesy that the heads looked like Ewan McGregor and Luke Skywalker, which I didn't really like. So the fact that this Ecto-1 just turns into what could be just a normal Autobot, he looks pretty cool, and I will probably pick this up if I can find it. Now on to Star Wars. Like I said, they didn't show a whole lot, but for the Black Series, which is the 6-inch figures that I collect, they did show off some figures we have already seen, such as Dr. Aphra and her droid sidekicks. Now, if you're not familiar with these characters, that's because they're all from the Marvel Comics. They're original characters from the comic, but they've, I guess, are quite popular in the books, because Dr. Aphra, who was originally introduced in the Darth Vader comic book, she's spun off into her own series, which has been going for a while now. And I'm a fan of that book, so I'm excited to get all those characters in the 6-inch scale. As far as the smaller Star Wars figures go, Hasbro was releasing, re-releasing some of the vintage figures. So we're talking like the 70s, 80s figures. They're releasing those on vintage style cards, which is pretty cool. If you're a carded collector, it's very expensive to find any of those vintage figures on card, so now you can get these reproductions. Now, I probably won't buy any of those. Maybe 1 or 2 of my favorite characters if they get around to making Walrus Man or Admiral Akbar. So far, I think they just revealed 5 or 6 of them, and it was the main characters like Luke Skywalker and Chewbacca and Han Solo. But one thing I guess they plan on doing with this line is creating some vintage style figures which were never released in the vintage line before. So, for example, they showed Grand Moff Tarkin, which is one of the main characters from the original Star Wars film, but he never appeared in the vintage toy line. So if you're a collector of the vintage toy line, it's pretty cool that you can now add these characters to that collection in that style. And just a couple of random things that I saw. I can't even recall which company is making these, but I think based on the tag and these images, there's a company called 1000 Toys that is making some pretty cool looking Iron Giant figures. Iron Giant's one of my favorite movies, and there's not nearly enough merchandise available for that movie. And some of the stuff that is up there is quite expensive, so hopefully these are a little more affordable. And also, there's some really cool Hellboy figures. They showed a Hellboy and kind of a prototype Abe Sapien. So these look really cool. If they're not too expensive, I could see myself getting a whole squad of the BPRD in this line. And so, last but not least, I've saved Marvel Legends, because that was probably the biggest set of reveals and the ones I'm most excited about. Now, they showed a whole lot. I'm not going to show you all of them. I'm just going to show you the ones that I'm definitely going to get, but chances are I'll probably get all of the things that they showed. So, one that was kind of cool is Ghost from the Ant-Man and Wasp movie. Now, I'm a big fan of Ghost, but I was a fan of the original one, the male version from the comic books. Hopefully we get a version of him down the road in his classic 80s costume, but I did like the character from the movie as well, so it's pretty cool that we're going to get a figure of her. This here is Rock Python. He's a member of the Serpent Society, and he's a pretty obscure member of the Serpent Society, which is an obscure team. But they've already given us Cottonmouth and Eel, I guess, is a sometimes member. So it's cool that they're slowly giving us the full collection of the Serpent Society. So fingers crossed for Death Adder and Diamondback in the near future. We also have the Grandmaster from Thor Ragnarok, which was played by Jeff Goldblum. So that's a pretty cool character. He was pretty fun in that movie, and so it's nice that we're finally getting a figure of him. There was a bunch of Spider-Man based figures. So there was Doppelganger, which is a clone of Spider-Man that spun out of the Infinity War storyline and then into Maximum Carnage. He was a character I really liked. I liked those stories. He was a character in the Maximum Carnage video game on N64. I have the Toy Biz figures of him. Anyway, so it's cool to get an update of the evil Doppelganger. There's Scorpion, who is one of Spider-Man's classic villains. I love getting all the classic villains. This figure's pretty cool. It's not perfect. I'd rather he look even more classic than he does. The metallic green. Something's off in the sculpt too, which is a little disappointing because I find Hasbro has screwed up a couple of these classic versions. Green Goblin being one of my all-time favorite villains, and I wasn't a fan of their version of Green Goblin or Hobgoblin. Dr. Octopus's tentacles didn't move, so they're not really batting 100 with these, but it's still pretty cool just to get the character. I love Scorpion. So, also we've got some X-Men characters. So we've got Dazzler, which is great to get her because she's one of my all-time favorite X-Men characters, and we get the disco version of her a year or two ago. But that look was kind of before my time. This is the look she had in the 80s when I was buying X-Men comic books, so I'm happy to finally get this figure. There was a couple of 2-packs revealed as part of Marvel's 80th anniversary. So the one I'm most excited about has the Hulk, which is a great version of the Hulk. I don't have a classic version of the Hulk in my Marvel Legends collection. I only have the Gladiator version with the armor. So to get this classic version with ripped pants, ripped shirt, looks great. And he comes with a first appearance Wolverine, which is Wolverine in his yellow costume, but with a much more distinct head with the little mask and the whiskers, which is pretty cool because I was just thinking the other day after I got the X-23, the all-new Wolverine figure in her yellow outfit, that I really should get the yellow Wolverine. But I didn't really want to buy the yellow Wolverine since it's the exact same figure as the brown and orange Wolverine I have. So now this gives me a reason to get a yellow Wolverine, but he's going to be different than the standard brown and orange one. We also got a couple of X-Force characters coming. So Boom Boom and Cannonball. Now, these are pretty cool figures. I love Boom Boom too. She was a character I really enjoyed when I was a kid. This isn't her best look, but it's still cool just to get her anyway. And with Cannonball, I assume he's going to have interchangeable legs to replace that cannon blast, but the cannon blast is a pretty cool effect. So yeah, those are the things I'm most excited about that we saw at Toy Fair 2019. So if you subscribe and keep watching these videos, assuming I keep making them, you'll probably see me reviewing all those figures in the coming months. So thanks a lot for watching. Please feel free to leave some comments, subscribe, and yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks.